Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I am Liz Unkles, and before marriage was Liz Adams. And in opening, I'd like to thank the organisers for the opportunity for myself and my fellow candidates to share their views, and I'd like to thank you all for coming this evening. Similarly to Chris, I may not have followed the rules right to the T, so please bear with me. In foundation for my responses to the provided questions, I believe it's important to provide a brief synopsis of who I am and my reflections in preparing for this evening. As defined in my personal and professional social media taglines, I'm an island girl who is abundantly blessed and a strategic systems developer. I'm a proud Norfolk Islander of Pitcairn descent who has the privilege of growing up on island and completing my schooling and working here in the early part of my nursing career. In the years I've lived off island, I have consolidated skills in the development of governance and strategic systems, and this has continued since returning. I possess the ability to work with people to define a clear objective or outcome and facilitate the required research, consultation, planning and development to deliver the outcomes with eyes fixed on the destination whilst taking people on the journey. There has been much internal wrestling in my preparation for this evening, as I hold the view that as a community representative on the Norfolk Island Governance Committee, that my view is just one of approximately 2,000 that need to be effectively communicated, considered and reflected in the governance model for Norfolk. It's on that basis that I provide to you the answers to the questions. In answering question 1, I believe that an appropriate governance model for Norfolk Island is one which has the views of our community intrinsically embedded within, and simply stated, ensures that the culture of Norfolk Island is not only preserved, but recognised and embedded appropriately into all aspects of governance and society. That effective governance systems are in place, which are equitable, sustainable, fit for purpose, promote effective access to services, and enhance standards of living and quality of life, and that the two aspects are considered and developed in unison. As raised in question 2, immigration or migration control is an essential component of a governance model which preserves and embeds for future generations the culture of the island. It is imperative that the model developed by the NIGC supports decisions regarding statutory or other migration control measures to be informed by evidence. This may include a sustainability study. It may include the consideration of work currently underway, such as the population strategy. But any decision regarding immigration, short or long term, needs to be made in the context of the evidence available, with the future in mind, with clear consideration of unintended consequences, and in collaboration with the community. In response to question 3, be it immigration or the model as a whole, I believe that the governance model for Norfolk needs to safeguard stability in governance. This stability supports social and economic advancement. However, in providing stability, system design also needs to enable responsiveness to the ever-changing environments in which they operate and the world in which we live. The model of governance developed for Norfolk Island needs to be contemporary, built with future generations in mind, and informed by the learnings and the strengths of the previous models. As a nominee, I've read and researched previous governance models employed on Island, as referenced in questions 4 and 5, including the Legislative Assembly, which governed the island for a number of decades. Each of these models had learnings, strengths, and weaknesses, and I believe were impacted by a variety of factors, including economic factors and related crises, changing political climates, in some areas a lack of cultural recognition and inclusion, and at times limitation from the governance system itself. However, the environment in which today's and future governance models must operate are very different. From a health, wellbeing and human services perspective, which is where I bring extensive experience, the services expected by the community today were not expectations 20 or 30 years ago, and the standards at which these have to be delivered have also changed considerably. These principles apply across multiple sectors, and any model of governance will need to consider these. On this basis, the model of governance which I have based my nomination on is not one of a specific type. is one of principles, and I reiterate again, it is one that sees the culture of Norfolk Island safeguarded, recognised and embedded into society and governance, which has effective governance systems that are equitable, sustainable, responsive, and that they are developed in unison. In response to question 7, the strengths that I would bring to the role of community representative, in addition to knowing that I am blessed to be an islander and my strategic systems thinking, is my extensive experience in the areas and my qualification in the areas of human services, health and social strategic planning. It is also that I am passionate, driven, conscientious, determined, some may say stubborn, and focused on seeing a model of governance developed which enables our unique culture and our island community to thrive. It has been said of me that if Liz sets her mind to it, nothing can get in her way from achieving it. It is these traits and the ability to work with people and take them on a journey that I believe position me well as a community representative on the Governance Committee. In taking the Norfolk Island Committee on the journey as outlined in the draft terms of reference, with a focus on things such as considering a legislative framework, the delivery of government services and other matters of governance, and developing a plan, methodology and timeline to modernise our governance arrangements consistent with the needs and aspirations of its people, I believe the community will be actively engaged in these activities, and as such, when a model of governance is developed, endorsement by the community as raised in question 8 should be almost a matter of final review. In walking this journey with the community, meeting with community members as asked in question 9 would be both formal, informal and evolving. The frequency and type of these meetings would vary and be proportionate to the activities, priorities and requirements before the committee. In representing the community on the Norfolk Island Governance Committee, I would actively advocate that the Norfolk Island community be heard and reflected appropriately in the governance arrangements. I do not believe, as suggested in question 10, that assertiveness or submission are measures of effective representation. Instead, an ability to retain focus and encourage the committee to retain focus on a shared objective and a strength of character to stand firm on the non-negotiables are key in being an effective member of the committee.
7.5.
Thank you. In terms of working in unity as other committee with the other representatives, I believe this is essential, but I also believe that there can be diversity in unity, and there needs to be diversity in the representatives so that all of our community views are represented. I would strongly encourage all in our community who are eligible to vote in the upcoming election to do so, because every person on island, their hopes and desires for future governance of our island matters. They matter, you matter, your vote matters. In closing, I would encourage you all to consider the views shared here tonight and vote for the person you believe and the people that you believe can support and facilitate the development of a governance model for our island which will see us thrive for this generation and those to come.